All right, let's talk about goals. You know, getting fit, starting that side hustle, finally writing that book. We all have them. But what if I told you that some of the most popular advice out there for reaching those goals is actually the very thing that's setting you up to fail? Well, today we're going to get into the surprising science of why so many of us struggle, and I'll show you a simple mental shift that could honestly change everything. So, let's kick things off with a single number, 8%. That's it. According to multiple studies, only 8% of people who make goals actually end up achieving them. Think about that for a second. That means for every 100 people determined to make a change, only 8 see it through. That's wild.
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why? What on earth is happening to the other 92% of us? Are we just lazy? Do we lack willpower? Well, it turns out the answer is no. The problem isn't usually with our effort. It's with our entire approach.
So let's call this the 8% problem. It's that feeling, when you start the year with all this energy and all these plans, and then by March, you're kind of right back where you started. We have all been there. And it turns out there's a fascinating and kind of sneaky scientific reason why this happens. And that reason leads us right into something I like to call the vision board trap. This is where we find out how that super common goal-setting advice, the stuff you see all over social media, might just be the very thing holding you back.
You know the drill, right? We're told to cut out pictures of our dream car, to spend 10 minutes every morning vividly imagining that we've already achieved it all. Feel this success. It's supposed to be this magical key to making our dreams a reality. But what does the science actually say about that?
Well, a researcher named Dr. Emily Belchetis looked into this exact mental process, this idea of just immersing yourself in a fantasy of your future success. Picturing yourself crossing that finish line, getting that promotion, and feeling all those amazing emotions that come with it.
And here's the kicker. Here is the big twist. Her research found that for your brain, this active, pure, positive visualization is basically like a goal satisfied. You get the emotional high, the reward of achieving it, without having done any of the actual work.
So how does this actually trip us up? I mean, it feels good, right? So what's the big deal? Well, the problem isn't just in your head, it's in your body.
Yeah, this is physical. Researchers found that when people indulge in these fantasies, their systolic blood pressure actually drops. Now, you can think of that as your body's get-up-and-go meter. And when it goes down, your body is literally becoming less energized, less ready for action. It's chilling out, as if the job is already finished, but you haven't even taken the first step.
And this ties into another little trap. Have you ever told your friends you're going to train for a marathon and they all go, "Wow, that's incredible"? Well, that praise gives you a little hit of dopamine, a little reward that can actually make you less likely to do the hard work later on. Okay, so if dreaming about the finish line is a trap, what's the solution? Well, it requires what we're calling a marathon mindset shift. And we can see it perfectly in the story of a guy who was stuck, just like a lot of us.
Meet Chuck Wachendorfer. He had a classic goal, run a marathon, but he just kept hitting a wall. He'd trained super hard, he told everyone his goal, but he was totally, completely stuck at the 8-mile mark, and he felt like a total failure. Does that sound at all familiar? And then, a simple conversation at a barbecue changed everything for him. A friend of his, not some super athlete, had just run 11 miles. Chuck was floored and asked how. And his friend's secret? He said, "I just ran slow enough." So simple, but so profound.
And this right here, this is the entire shift. His old approach was all about the outcome, finishing fast, which of course led to total burnout. But his new approach, it focused on the behavior, running slow and steady. And the result? He didn't just break past 8 miles, he finished the entire marathon.
And that's the absolute core of it all. Real goal achievement isn't about wishing or just visualizing. It's about behavioral change. You have to ask yourself, what do I actually need to do differently, day in and day out, to make this happen? That's the missing ingredient for the 92%.
So, how do we actually put this into practice? Well, we can use a really simple but powerful framework for a reality check, one that mixes Chuck's practical wisdom with the science we just covered. Chuck calls his reality check the acid test. And don't worry, you don't need any safety goggles for this one. It's a mental test, and it's designed to filter out those fuzzy, unrealistic dreams and really focus your energy on what you can actually do.
It all boils down to two brutally honest questions. First up, the ability question. Are you actually able to do what's needed? Do you have the skills, the time, the resources? And second, the willingness question. Are you genuinely willing to do what it takes? The sacrifices, the consistent effort? If the answer to either of those is no, then the goal itself needs to be adjusted.
Okay, so the acid test is a fantastic start. It grounds us in reality. But to really make our plan bulletproof, we need to add one more critical step, and this one comes straight from Dr. Balcetis' research.
So, instead of just daydreaming about success, you need to actively plan for the obstacles. Break that huge goal down into small, concrete steps. And here's the most important part. Think about what's going to go wrong, because trust me, something always will, and decide right now how you're going to handle it. Having that plan B ready means that when you hit a roadblock, you don't panic, you just pivot.
So, we've unpacked the problem, we've laid out a new way of thinking. Now let's bring it all home and focus on your first step. What can you do, like, right now?
And honestly, this is the biggest takeaway. The goal is not perfection. It's progress. It's about being honest with yourself and adjusting your goal until you find one that you can work on consistently. Maybe you can't run a marathon next month, but can you run slowly for 20 minutes 3 times a week? Start there. It's all about progress, not perfection.
I think this final quote from Chuck really says it all. You have to shift your focus away from that big, shiny outcome in the distance and onto the small, daily behaviors that you can actually control. That is how you join the 8%. That's how you finally cross your own finish line.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Think about a goal you have right now. What is one tiny adjustment you could make today to focus on a doable behavior instead of just a distant dream? Answering that question might just be the most important step you take.